Hey y'all. Okay, so let's go through the mind-body connection and how it plays out with the lungs and some conditions that are associated with the lungs. As a disclaimer, some of the chain reactions or framework or structure of how the mind-body connection plays out are virtually the same, except for there's different thought patterns that affect different organs, which produces different physical results. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so again, the mind-body connection refers to the intricate relationship between your mind, so your thoughts, your emotions, your mental processes, and then also the body, so your physiological functions and your overall health. So this connection is complex and is bidirectional, so that means that the mind can influence the body and the body can influence the mind. So again, whether these events that you're thinking about or feeling some way about, whether it is real or imagined, the chain of reactions, it all plays out in the body all the same, whether it's real or imagined. So our lungs is where we literally and metaphorically breathe in life. So we keep what nurtures our spirit, and then when we exhale, we're letting go of what we no longer need. That's metaphorically. Literally, you are breathing in air from, or breathing in oxygen from the air that we breathe, and then we're exhaling like carbon dioxide and things that we don't need in our body. All right, so let's just say that you are experiencing loss, a divorce, a separation, a loss of a loved one, some type of sadness. So your thoughts are probably leading your emotions toward the negative side, which affects your emotional health. So emotional stress related to loss or like sorrow can impact your respiratory health. So I love traditional Chinese medicine. So in traditional Chinese medicine and some other holistic practices, the lungs are usually linked to emotions like grief, sadness, depression. And then on the positive side, it's like righteousness and courage. So just to put this out here, because it is linked to grief, sadness, and depression. I know some people can associate sadness and depression like interchangeably, but depression is different from sadness. Sadness is like where you actually feel sad. You might have some tears or something. Depression goes beyond sadness, so you don't feel anything. Whereas with sadness, you actually feel sad. With depression, you don't feel anything. You don't want to do anything. You're probably not engaging in your normal activities or things that you think are fun. You're literally just existing and going through life. So now that we have these thoughts out there, we're sad about this loss, this starts our stress and anxiety, especially if we have a strong emotional reaction. And this can lead to shallow breathing or like an increased respiratory rate. So with our stress starting, that triggers the fight or flight response or your sympathetic nervous system. So this leads to the release of adrenaline and cortisol. So our heart rate increases, our breathing becomes rapid, shallow, our blood pressure increases. Whereas on the other side, our parasympathetic nervous system can calm all of that down, and it creates an environment in the body that is conducive for healing. So shallow and rapid breathing is often connected to or associated with stress, whereas like slow and deep breathing is more so connected to relaxation. All right, so now again, we are here. We can't soothe that thought. That thought of loss. We can't soothe that thought of loss because loss is hard. So you're consumed by thoughts of someone you were used to having around or someone you wanted to have around and they're no longer here. Maybe you blame yourself, maybe you blame God or the person if they just should have listened to you, and then maybe things would have been differently, and that's how you're processing things. Either way, without proper emotional regulation and the continuous thoughts of being sad and those emotions and grief, that begins the chronic cycle of stress. So now, boom, we can't soothe the thought. We got all these emotions everywhere. It's becoming all consuming. And it's like, oh my gosh, I lost this person. I can't go on without this person. They helped me with everything. So you're probably now looking at old pictures, text messages, replaying memories. And it's saddening because you truly miss this person. You didn't want to see this person. You didn't want to lose this person. And your sadness and your grief is exacerbated. So the lungs are, again, responsible for removing oxygen from the air that we breathe or the air that we inhale and transferring it to the blood in our body. Since we are in chronic stress mode, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, our sympathetic nervous system is like going all haywire, like trigger, 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 trigger. Okay, now there's probably decreased oxygen in the blood because our breathing is affected. So if our breathing is affected, the oxygen that we need in our blood is affected. So your asthma is probably being triggered. Your COPD is probably being exacerbated. You may have anxiety or panic attacks because stress hormone cortisol has been in your body for way too long, and you are dealing with long-term stress now. So even if you don't have a respiratory condition, experiencing like strong emotions or intense stress can still have physical symptoms. So it can affect your breathing. You might have some chest tightness, shortness of breath. So how can we kind of navigate and help our lungs? So how about trying some relaxation techniques? So mind-body practices like deep breathing, intentionally focusing on that breathing. And when you're breathing, think about breathing in positivity and exhaling negativity. Yoga can help calm the nervous system. So you want to do things that are going to activate that parasympathetic nervous system so that you can start the healing process. And then once you activate that parasympathetic nervous system, like your symptoms and conditions you should see an improvement. You can try some aromatherapy. So certain scents like eucalyptus or peppermint can have positive benefits on the respiratory system. Physical activity, so just engaging in regular exercise, making sure that you stay hydrated, because in addition to all of our cells in our body needing oxygen, we also need water, so stay hydrated. Avoiding smoking, so it is a big risk when you smoke and your lungs are already compromised. So think about quitting smoking, and then also maintaining a healthy diet. So certain nutrients like vitamin C, omegas, fatty acids can help your lungs as well. So again, like addressing your emotional well-being, regulating your emotions in a way that is comfortable for you. So it might be writing, it might be rocking in a chair, you might play with a fidget spinner, and working on your trauma with maybe healthcare professionals, a coach, therapy, counseling, managing your stress can definitely prove to be beneficial. So again, nothing manifests without it first starting as thought and emotion. So what's on your mind?